Tarny Kit Asimar Cleric did not stay. As the sun dipped low and the fields burned gold beneath it, he stepped away from the group. No speeches, no grand farewell, just a quiet promise carried on steady breath. When you need me, I will be there. Light gathered at his back like memory answering a call. His wings unfurled, pale and radiant against the darkening sky. For a moment the village went still. Farmers, children, even the restless dogs, watching something holy rise above their smoke and roofs. Then he lifted. He flew west into the bleeding edge of sunset until he was no more than a streak of gold swallowed by distance. The road gave way to fields and low fences, the kind built by hands that never stopped working. A large farming village sat crouched against the southern wetland, close enough to the swamp that the air carried that faint rotten water smell even in daylight. By afternoon the sun was already slanting, and the place looked tired in a way that only honest labor makes. Agdath Mindv, Frost Goliath and fighter, walked in first like a moving wall, eyes steady, posture like he expected trouble even here. DL Alter, Volari, fighter and warlock, stayed close to the group, the weight of his blade and the wrong kind of confidence both riding him at once. Nightroot Stone, dwarf druid, watched the ground, the wind, the trees, reading the land the way farmers read weather. Rowan Pike, human rogue, drifted where he could see everything without being seen, already noting doors, windows, and who looked nervous. Veskar, Cloud Goliath, artificer and fighter, kept a practical gaze on straps, packs, and gear, thinking in fixes and function before comfort. They brought Captain Edric Hale and Keth Willowstep straight to the village temple. No grand entrance, no hero talk, just the hard reality of bodies that needed help. Nightroot offered what he could to steady pain and fever without draining himself dry. Then the party stepped back and let the temple do what temples do. Hale and Willowstep were alive. That was the point. Everything else could wait. After that, it was time to make themselves ready again. Agdath took dents and bent metal to the smith, standing over the work like he could will it faster. Veskar talked tools and repairs with the kind of focus that makes a craftsman listen, checking fittings, plates, and buckles, making small adjustments that would matter when blades came out. Rowan restocked what he uses to stay alive: arrows, spare string, oil, and the quiet little things people forget until they need them. Nightroot traded for simple supplies that keep a druid moving: salt, cloth, twine, a bit of clean wax, a place to refill water skins. DL Alter hovered between the ordinary and the strange, sharpening steel, while the pact behind his eyes stayed hungry and patient. They found warmth where the village keeps its noise, a tavern that wasn't really an inn, just a long room with rough tables and a smell of stew, smoke, and spilled drink. There was music, the simple kind made by people who play because life is hard and silence gets heavy. They ate until the edge came off their hunger. They drank enough to feel human again, not enough to get stupid. Agdath sat like a boulder that had decided to rest. Rowan listened more than he spoke. Veskar watched the room, even while talking shop. Nightroot kept an eye on the doorway and the windows like the swamp might walk in. DL Alter drank and smiled and looked like a young man pretending he wasn't afraid of what follows him. There was no true inn in this village, no clean beds for travelers with coin and stories. The stable owner, Bram Nettler, offered rooms above the stalls in exchange for a shiny coin, and nobody argued. The air up there carried hay, horse, and old wood, but it was dry and it was safe enough. They laid out gear the way seasoned fighters do, not like guests, and they slept in shifts without even needing to say it out loud. Morning came cold and early. They gathered their things, tightened straps, checked blades, checked packs, checked each other. The smell of breakfast drifted from downstairs. Bread, salt meat, and something hot meant to chase away the damp. They headed down to eat before they hit the road again, because moving on an empty stomach is how you die in small ways before the big one gets you. That's when they heard the guards. 2 village men in worn leather and wet cloaks, speaking low like they didn't want the words to spread, but the words were already loose in the air. Another one didn't come back last night. No tracks, nothing, just gone. And the village around them kept moving like it had to, because crops don't wait for fear. But the way people glanced toward the tree line, and the way the swamp air seemed a little heavier than it should have been, said the same thing the guards did. Something out there was taking people.